Hello and welcome to Unikron's Gaming, and this is another 2D Sunday-ish, and today I'm going to be talking about my love and hate relationship with Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Yeah, this game. Okay, first off, this is Unikron's opinion. These are my feelings. These are not facts. I'm just going to say why I am not particularly a fan of this game. To start off positively, the best thing that this game did was introduce us to Akuma. I think he's a great character. He's almost perfect. Yeah, and it looks very pretty. Those are the two positive things I can say about this game. Okay, some of my biggest gripes with this game is that it didn't fix some of the issues which were introduced in Super Street Fighter 2. Guile's voice is still broken. The announcer still sounds terrible. The hit effects, when you get hit, those sounds, they still sound worse than CPS1. They just don't sound bassy. They don't sound like they have enough weight to them. For me personally, I wasn't a fan that the inputs had to be so precise, ultra precise. That was a bit of a letdown. What else? The CPU is just way too cheap. It'll beat you with any 5 random moves of doom. God forbid you get hit by a super. You're done and dusted. Personally, for me, I think the supers were broken. You had grapplers who, even if you did the super and they didn't connect, you still kept your super bar. Crazy. You couldn't accidentally get rid of the super bar, or if someone missed, it would just stay there until the super connected or you lost a round. You had ridiculously rubbish supers like Hondas, Blancas or Fei Longs. Those supers were just stupid. There was no point to those supers. They're all rubbish. And then you had god tier supers from Ryu, Balrog and Chun-Li. So the game was just basically, for me, the game wasn't fun. It almost destroyed Street Fighter 2 for me. It was just, I was like, this is the last version. It's, apart from giving us the speed back, which was missing in Super, they basically destroyed you playing the game. It was only good for versus. That was it. As this game was first seen in the arcade for me, I don't think Capcom did themselves any favors. They were going up against King of Fighters 94, I believe Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 2, I want to say. I don't even know if 3 was out by then, but this game, like I said, unless it was versus, just didn't play very well. I just don't understand why they changed the way the CPU controlled. It was just reading inputs, and it was very, very frustrating. So it put a lot of people off during that time period, and I think, unfortunately for Capcom, this didn't do too well for them as an arcade, and thus we didn't really see ports. Even I think Super Street Fighter 2 on the Sega Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, the sales weren't particularly good for that game, and it flopped. I think it got crushed by Mortal Kombat 2. So at that period, Capcom just in general wasn't doing the best, and this game I personally don't feel helped. Well, where I was, not saying where I was equal to the world, but it just, it wasn't the thing. Yeah, and I know a lot of people that just didn't like it, or thought this should have been home version. Why did we get Super when we should have had this version? But yeah, those are my general subjective gripes. But out of this game, I got some stuff which I did like, which I'm going to talk about now. So from Super Turbo, I was given, well, we received, I should say, HD Remix, which I really liked. They tweaked some of the things that really annoyed me about original Super Turbo. This was on PS3 and Xbox 360. PS3 version was terrible online. The Xbox 360 version had excellent online. Unfortunately, I had the PS3 version. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game. This game fixed a lot of the problems that I had. The music, on the whole, I think the music's better than the CPS2 renditions of the classic Street Fighter 2 sounds. The announcer sounded better. Guile was fixed. Yeah, it's just, and with the hit sounded better as well. So yeah, it did, to me, it did a lot of good. Akuma had a special. He had multiple colors. Yeah, it was cool. It was very cool. I remember reading SRK on the forums, seeing what Serlin was adding to the game, what he could do, and stuff like that. So yeah, I was very happy with this game, but it also had one major failing for me personally. This is just for Unikronn personally, and in my opinion, that failing was the characters. I have artists in my family, comic book artists or former comic book artists. He's worked for Marvel UK, and I have animators. He's worked on I don't know, what did he work on? Age of Ultron in the cinema, that Avengers movies and stuff like that. Basically, comic book artist needs to make sure each cell looks great and the page looks great overall. Whereas an animator, you need to worry about make sure things look good. Each animation goes smoothly into another. You concentrate on key animations, heavy animations, light animations. You don't get comic book artists to make animation. Well, you didn't at the time anyway when this game came out. Two different fields. And so when they got Udon, who do comic book to make their animation, that's why it looked choppy. It looked like a Flash game, for people who remember when Flash was something that was in web browsers. So yeah, that's where it went wrong for me. It didn't look smooth, it looked choppy. So certain animations were just wrong because they were drawn as stills rather than to animate into another frame. So yeah, but you know, it can't have it always done on a budget, and I still appreciate and love this game. Another excellent offshoot from Super Turbo is 15th anniversary. And quite frankly, this is my favorite game to play in versus mode, only in versus realistically, because it gives you all the character variants from Street Fighter 2 in one package on the Super Turbo engine. I just think it's great. Is it balanced? No. Is it fun? Extremely. For example, how many versions of Ryu is there? There's World Warrior Ryu, Champion Edition, Hyper Fighting, Super, and then you've got the variant from Super Turbo and the actual Super Turbo version. So that's 6 versions of Ryu you can play with. So yeah, it's just great, and they're all different, or even if it's just slight differences here and there, the fact is you've got them all. The CPS1 characters have their original sounds for when they hit characters. They've got their voices, everything. Say, for example, you liked World Warrior, I don't know, Ken. Now you can play him at the speeds from Super Turbo. It's just great. It's just a wonderful mishmash. Are there negatives? Yeah. Unfortunately, once again, it's still the Super Turbo engine. So if you're playing single player, you still got most of the problems from Super Turbo, mostly. But it does play better with the CPU, but it's still an issue. But it's great. I just think, especially in versus mode, this game is just the one. I just wish that playing the CPU, because you don't always have someone to play with, I just wish that was good. To be honest, the only thing that for me that I wish Capcom did do, which I don't know why, perhaps it's because this game was done on a budget and it's something quick, was that they have all these characters and you're fighting in the at the time was the most current version of the engine, so which was Super Turbo. But it would have been so cool if they'd have done like I don't know, a B spec version of this game along with it, so you could have chosen. Whereas give you all the characters but play on the most current version of the CPS1 engine, which would have been Hyper Fighting. So you take all versions of all characters, and if you want, you can choose to slap them into the last version of CPS1 engine, which would have been Hyper Fighting. So that would have been cool as well. I don't know how it would have worked. That's for Capcom to figure out. Would it have been balanced? No, but this game isn't balanced anyway. It's about fun. And you wouldn't have got rid of this mode. It just would have been another mode to play in. So that would have been pretty cool. I mean, to see Akuma, how we would have played in the CPS1 engine and stuff like that, that would have been really nice. They would have had to redo some of the backgrounds because certain characters, like the 4 new challengers, they would have had to literally draw their backgrounds as if they were from CPS1. Because we've already got their music from that, but we don't have a visual representation of their background, so that would have been cool as well. Yeah, this would have been something nice that they could have added to this game as well, but we never got it, so it's just a what if. But yeah, I've had some great matches with friends online with this, because I've got friends that prefer their Game Watch Champion Edition. They didn't like anything from Super Street Fighter 2 onwards, like myself. My favourite character is Ken from Hyper Fighting. I don't like Ken from Super, and I hate Ken from Super Turbo. So I was able to choose my version and play against friends whose favourite version was Super Ryu or Super Turbo Ryu, or Champion Guile. I remember this on the OG Xbox days with Xbox Live, from playing people from Neo Empire, on the SRK forums, playing people like Don786, Original Don, Minaxi, Chowstar, Base Ventura, just tons of people. Just, yeah, good times. Really, really good times with this game. But unfortunately, when there's no one to play, I don't play that game that often, because I probably won't get past the third person unless you do what you do in Super Turbo. You can only play against the characters, CPU control characters, in a certain way. It's almost like a method. You have to cheat. It's not a cheat, but you can only do certain things at certain times to make them do certain moves so that you can punish it. You can't play freely at all, which you could do with the CPS1 variants of Street Fighter 2 in the arcade and the home ports. So yeah, bit of a shame that, but still great in versus mode. In fact, it's godlike in versus mode. Alright, hear me out. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what? Wait, why is Street Fighter Revival up here? Street Fighter 2 Revival. Well, oddly enough, this is my favourite version of Super Turbo to play when I'm just playing the computer. Nothing else. I just think the playability in this game is great. Yes, I know it's a 16-bit version and it doesn't look the greatest, doesn't sound the greatest, but it plays so well. Yeah, I love this version. Just to play the CPU. That's all I'm talking about here. Just to play the CPU. This is my favorite version to play. I just love it. It does have one major bug, which I'll get to near the end of this video. But yeah, this is just so fun. I have played this in Versus. It's the link up on the Game Boy Advance back in the day. It's alright. It's not my preferred way to play Street Fighter 2 Versus. That would be 15th anniversary. But this is basically how I wish that you could play Super Turbo in the arcade, just freely. Do whatever you want. The computer's not reading inputs. Well, I don't believe this is reading inputs, because this plays almost, well, it plays very similar to the mix of 15th anniversary, HD remix, Super from the SNES and the Mega Drive version. Just, yeah, all of those, where it just doesn't really, I don't think it reads inputs. It's just programmed to play in a certain way, but it's just enjoyable and fun. So like, yeah, that's what I like about this version. It's got a lot of speech. In my mind, it still looks good. Plays well. A little bit of slowdown, unfortunately, here and there. I don't play on this original hardware because that's crazy. Why would anyone want to do that? So I play with a pad. To be honest, I play this with a DualSense controller, so I've got all 4 face buttons. I know that even to play on 6 buttons, you have to hold a button down or do some other stuff, but I'm fine with playing with 4 buttons. But yeah, it's just enjoyable. I really do like it. So yeah, this is my favorite way to play a game based on Super Turbo, based on that. If I'm only playing the CPU, I really do like this game. yeah, so that is me there. I just want to show you something here. Look at this. I had a dismiss here. Ready? Here we go. Watch my crouching medium kick. Here we go. And excuse me. What? That's mad. That's crazy. Anyway, but yeah, like I was saying, this is my favorite way to play the CPU and get all the supers and specials and stuff out. The inputs, perhaps because it was the Game Boy Advance, are very lenient. To me, they feel just like the SNES, the Mega Drive, and PC Engine versions of Street Fighter. Yeah, they're not as strict, which I think is another reason why I like the game so much. And once again, I'm just playing the CPU. I'm not playing a person. So if I'm just going to play one player, this is the version that I prefer. Another reason why I also like this version is that all the characters are now viable, since this is not the arcade version. Because I mean, on the arcade, I was never going to pick Fei Long and try and learn with him, because I wouldn't get past probably the second character. And back then it was 50p a credit. So it would have been a waste of my time. I wasn't going to learn with until I got the home version. And at that point, by the time the home version did come out on the PlayStation, which is what I owned, I wasn't really into Super Turbo. I mean, I was into my Ridge Racers, my Tekkens. I think Tekken 3 was out by then. Come on, I'm not going to play Super Turbo when there's Tekken 3 to be played. So yeah, and Metal Gear Solid, and I think there was different times then. I was into different stuff. So with this version, I could pick Fei Long and mess around with him and see what it's like. I could play around with DJ and see the new moves, and Vega, and mess around with the new moves of Vega. Whereas I couldn't do that on Super Turbo the arcade. It was just, I don't know how people learnt to play Super Turbo without spending a lot of money, because most of my learning came from playing the CPU, and then I would go and play other people. But Super Turbo, I just wasn't able to do that on the arcade. I mean, not all arcades at that point, even then, sometimes buttons were broken or sticks wasn't quite working properly. And remember, the inputs had to be super precise, so it just wasn't a viable option, unfortunately. Whereas this, yeah, I mess around with all the characters. I don't care. I'll pick them all, and I like them. You can't pick the super variants, which you could in Super Turbo, which is a shame. What I do like is that you can have the super bar carry over to the next round. I've done that. So yeah. Oh, this is the problem I was talking about. Make sure you lose a round, otherwise you get this. And the game just crashes. You cannot play Akuma in arcade mode, or you can't play against him. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame. It is what it is though. And the last reason why I like this version, just for playing in one player mode, they gave me back bonus stages. Yes, there's only 2, but at least they put them back. I don't know why Super Turbo didn't have bonus stages. The arcade version, it was just a nice thing to have. Anyway, this is me. This has been my video, my rant. I will see you in my next video. Peace.